Right, thank you very much for joining me here on Upfront on the Joy News channel tonight. Very interesting and important conversation on Ghana's education system and the impact of the licensure examination. I'm sure you've seen, you've read, you've heard, and you've actually debated or have had conversation around this. 8 out of 10 teachers who actually sat for the licensure exams could not pass. This simply means that if you sample, 10 teachers who actually sat for the licensure exams, you just have about 2 of them passing. Tonight, we're going to have a very important conversation on this and look at the impact or the factor of these licensure exams on Ghana's education system. After this break, my guest will join me. Welcome back to Upfront with me, Isaac Kofi Agyei. And my guest actually needs no introduction, Professor Emeritus Stephen Agyei. He's actually, an economist, a writer, a former director and a rector. He's actually worked with the UN on several projects. And he's also, worked with several universities and is currently the CEO of the Ghana Christian International High School. Professor Emeritus Stephen Agyei, welcome to Upfront.
Thank you.
Well, Prof, you look very refreshed. What's the secret?
I just want to visit my kids at Ghana.
Hi, Prof. Hello, Prof. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Prof, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you very well.
Yeah. Good evening. I was saying you look very refreshed. What's the secret?
I went to visit my kids at Ghana Christian International High School, so I put on my best.
Oh, I see. Did they give you any special food or something?
For sure. Anytime I visit them, they prepare fufu for me.
Oh, I see. So fufu is the factor here.
Very well so.
Now, this evening, well, absolutely. This evening, there's another factor that I want us to talk about. The, licensure examination actually set up for teachers to take. And we're looking at the Ghana education system in general. I want to first start with the health of Ghana's basic education system. What's your take on this?
It is one of the sad parts to talk about. We have done a lot of things. We are one of the African countries to start kindergarten. We are ahead. There was a time when if you went from Ghana or anywhere else, you were on the pedestal. Of late, the reports have not been too good. About 3 years ago, the World Development Report of the World Bank described our basic education as schooling without learning, which is quite devastating. In other words, in the public schools, children go to school, and after 2 years in primary 2, they are on the average illiterate. And that's what they meant by schooling without learning. And the average junior secondary school in the villages come out almost semi-illiterate. Even at the secondary school, which already some people have already fallen by the wayside, on the average, between 45 and 50% of our students don't pass. And that is quite tragic. In other words, you have a system which produces on average 50% failures. And we don't realize it, but it is, if you go to the streets and everywhere else, their attitude, their ethics, education is not only just even getting the 3 hours and the rest.
Absolutely.
Also, them attitude, nationalism, patriotism, it is almost zero. And I think that we are really in crisis in some regard. And this must be of concern to people. And even at the university level, the quality of some of the students, a very significant proportion, not quite good. I ran thank God, one of the premier secondary schools. And when we are interviewing graduates for appointment, we give them the same examination as their students are supposed to take in WASI. And on about 30% don't pass, so we cannot even progress to interview them. That is the concern, and they are supposed to be graduates. If a graduate in mathematics, in one case, the person was given a WASI examination question, and he decided to leave the place. Says he's not prepared to take the examination, and therefore even did not attempt it. So this is the situation that must be of concern to parents, to government, to teachers themselves, whose image, they're good teachers, but the image generally is that they are not delivering.
Well, Prof, this is the education system that we spend close to 4% of our GDP on. Is it not enough to give us the kind of output that we want?
And 27% of government budget. You know, when we say that the government has about 800 employees, actually about 3/4 or more of them are teachers and nurses, and the teachers form the majority. So this is what is a great concern in terms of value for money. And it's something which our governments are not prepared to address it, because they feel that if you offend the teachers, your political fortunes may be, dented. So therefore, we sing their praises.
Because they have the numbers?
Yes, they have the numbers. But I believe that if you take the right action and parents see the improvement of their children's education, they could not survive for their propaganda against the government.
Well, so let's look at the IMF judgment on our education in general. I want to read this for you to hear. It says, key identify areas of potential improvement of Ghana's education spending include strengthening primary education resources, better teaching learning outcomes, and stronger performance-based funding practices. So it simply tells you that the fundamentals here are weak. Do you agree with this assessment?
In fact, they are being generous. They are being generous in the sense that if the majority of children, especially the first 3 years, every normal child within maximum of 3 years will be literate, competent in the 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic, and be able to express themselves in the language of instruction. That is not happening. And for me, that is the litmus test. So the IMF is not being harsh. At best, they are being economical and being polite.
Well, probably this may sound harsh. Let me pick your thought on this. So they say we spend close to 4% of our GDP on education, but it actually has poor learning outcomes. It means we spend so much, but the outcome that we are looking for, we end up getting a poor learning outcome from this.
In fact, let me tell you, they are still being diplomatic. The reality is this. Research shows that after 12 years of education, the average Ghanaian child has the equivalent of 6 years of serious learning. In other words, so really, it is a pandemic. And one of the things is that we reap the results as the years go by, because they become adults, they are dropouts, they are mostly unemployable, and their attitude. I go to my village, and the person who has secondary school failure says he won't go to farm because he went to secondary school and came with nothing, and he's walking about. Sad to say, some of them getting themselves into illicit drugs, and now Galamsey is the main thing. I come from southern part of Ashanti. They cannot even get farm people to work on the farms. Why? Because they fail secondary school, they are Galamsey, and that gives them some money for some time. But how long are they going to? And their future becomes so miserable, because are they going to be, well, I'm saying, laborers for the rest of their life? No. So we must do something in terms of changing attitude, in terms of academic outcomes, and the time to do so is now.
Well, it's clear that the problem is the fundamental, at the basic level, where we are probably not doing much. What is actually the solution? Can you tell me about your 9 books that, can actually help enhance literacy, in a span of 3 months for KG students and also Class 1 pupils?
First of all, let me say that the panacea is that there's not one panacea. There has to be an improvement in the management of the school supervision, accountability, and that teachers must be judged by results, not, oh, I got my degree the other day and I'm appointed and then I am, the situation is that in the secondary school, for example, some of the good, even private schools, don't find it difficult to attract teachers. Why? Because they say the government secondary school is better. They don't teach, and then you have to come to the afternoon classes in order for you to pass. So therefore, what they get by the side is more than what you will give them and the rest. But a fundamental one, which I'm trying to deal with, and my wife, is literacy by the age of 6 years. And I must confess, I must apologize to many generations of Ghanaian children who I'm coming to them late, because I use this method for my children, 4 children, and our friends, and all of them came with the same result, totally literate by 5 or 6 years. Then, of course, when you are paying school fees for your children, you forget other people's children.
And it actually works in 3 months?
Yes, I'm getting there. Then I got my grandchildren, and when they were about 4 or 5, they'll say, their mommy's spirit was. Then my wife says that, like the 4 lepers, now we know our sins. We should have exported it and made it available to all children in Ghana. And we tried it to our grandchildren, 5 years old, 2 of them, by 3 months, in fact, less than 3 months, but I give 3 months as a good period. They were totally literate, so that they are now 10 and 7, and they can read any university book. And it's very, very simple. We have here, so the past 4 years, my wife and I have been working very hard on 9 books. Book 1, it says boys and girls. Book 2, at home, and the rest playing with toys. But the essence of it is very, very simple. These are books which, for example, the first book has only 23 words. The whole book, all the sentences are 23, are formed with 23 words. And then you use cards. It's very powerful. You use these cards, say bird, bears, why, whichever word, the 23. And when the children are taking 10 at a time, spending only 1 second to go through 1 minute to go through the 10 3 times a day, the average child within 3 days has gotten all the words. But then
Unfortunately, we lost Professor Stephen Agyei over there, but we're still talking about Ghana's education system and the licensure factor. You may have seen, you may have heard it, that teachers who sat for this year's licensure exams, actually I'm privy to the data, and if you look at the literacy aspects, it's been on a decline in terms of the average number of teachers who pass from 44 to somewhere around 22. Prof, you're back. You're making a point.
Yes, I think that I'm having some light of, please tell to change it to electricity, because I'm having a flickering of
Interesting.
Make sure that it is resolved quickly. All of them to DC. I'm on solar, and because of the weather, it is flickering. So they should change immediately to ECG for us.
Prof, go ahead then.
Yeah. So you use this card. The first book has 23 words. Within 3 days, an average child knows all the words. And once they know that you give him the book, boom, he's able to read it. And that is the electrifying one. For the first time, he takes a book and reads it himself or herself. And he's clamoring for more. You go to the second book, about 30 words, to do the same, you give the book, they read it. And you know that in English, there are only 100 words we use more than 50% the time.
Interesting.
So once they learn the key words, and before they have reached 400 words, the children are so smart. I don't need to teach them A, B, C, D, alphabet, vowels, all of them. They decipher that by themselves because that's how they learn their mother tongue.
Well, of course, this is actually focused on, some children have different disabilities. You can have dyscalculia and dyslexia. This is actually supposed to help with those who have, dyslexia. What about those who have dyscalculia? Hello, Prof? Can you hear me, Prof? Well, it's unfortunate we're having some challenge. Yeah, I can hear you, Prof.
Now we are back on.
Yeah, I was asking how this methodology can help, kids who suffer dyscalculia instead of dyslexia.
Please, normally, when a child has some disability, they require special care. But 99% of children are normal children, like Stephen Adele of Hirokwasi. So a child with special need will require special attention. I haven't tried it on them.
Absolutely.
I'm not a special child with needs teacher, so they will have to figure that one out. But if we are able to reach the 99% of the children, and in fact, I'm going to see the Minister of Education, how we can get it even online for free for the schools, because our children must learn to read. And once they break that one, mathematics, science, everything comes cool job.
Right, so we can't simply do this without technology or digitalization. So you've heard the Vice President saying that he's actually going to replace textbooks with tablets. In fact, we've seen AI and other things inception, but do you think, what's your take on this, the Vice President's decision to swap or to change all textbooks with tablets? Do you think that we have the capacity to do this?
First of all, let me correct what you said. We can't do this without technology. My children were taught with just cards, flashcards, and a book, and they learn.
But Prof, I'm sure you agree with me that technology can actually be a catalyst in this situation.
No. Let's go one by one. First of all, I dispute that you can't do it without technology. In fact, with just cards and the books, you can teach the child to read in 3 months. However, technology is an enhancer. For example, these books, one of the things that's why I'm thinking of going to see the Minister of Education, how we can get it online to the teachers and the schools, is that it's so expensive to print them. And one booklet plus the cards, about 50 Ghana cedis. And, so that is where technology will come in, because you can project the book. You can project the cards in a classroom. So therefore, technology is an enhancer, and therefore, I will go for it. Now comes the question of replacing all of them. I think that, politicians are a bit hyperbolic, and that's part of their trade. Mahama comes, and when he comes 4 years, there will be a change. Kufuor says that, what they call it, Ghana beyond aid. So give and take their language. I believe that eventually Ghana, and like everybody else, should go technological. But it will be gradual. We don't have the money We don't have the internet in every village. And so, yes, 100 miles has a beginning. But to say that it's going to replace with the schools, all the schools with, laptops or
Tablets.
whatever, tablets and other things, under this period of haircut, how are you going to do it? So I think it's a good intention, but I don't think it's something which is going to happen tomorrow. And I don't think he has the capacity to deliver it.
In fact, we started with the teachers. We said one teacher, one laptop. And yes. I don't know the status yet, but
yes.
Make your point.
It is not, it hasn't happened. So that's why I'm saying that, this is a political talk. But in reality, it must be a bit modest. We will start it, have experimentation. The teachers don't have laptops. They are thinking about the children. At this moment, what is needed, if they can have internet access to every school, that will be a major booster. Then you can go on from there. You have a school in my village. The first thing was we invested in a 38,000 Wi-Fi from Vodafone. And as a result, the children in Hiramwasi in my school, they have a computer room, and all of them become computer literate. But that starts somewhere. Get Wi-Fi, get some computer lab, and then you progress from there. In fact, we have now reached a stage whereby in our school in Sota, all the 1,000 students all have Chromebook, that's tablets. But then you come slowly. Rolling it out nationally is a formidable one, and he must not brag too much. But it's a good, I support his digitalization. It's the way forward eventually, but it's not coming immediately.
Well, let's move away from the basic education and go to secondary. The same IMF, assessed the free SHS program, which is one of government's flagship program. Annually we spend close to 2 billion Ghana cedis on this flagship program. But the IMF is saying the free SHS program is poorly targeted. Do you agree with the fund?
First of all, I like the slogan, the government slogan, no child is to be left behind. And therefore, I think that in this day and age, every child should have the opportunity to have a minimum of 12 years secondary education from primary to secondary school. What I am, and let me be very clear, very supportive of the free education. However, it is like saying that, kente is nice, and therefore every child should have kente. I believe that we have a limited number of resources, and there are so much demand for it. And we must reconsider how we will treat the free education to make it cost effective, and those who can make contribution make so. For example, I believe that all the Wegehe girls who are chopping the posts, we have had, I think, 2 of them as chief justices. It seems that they are good at producing good lawyers, and the rest should be able, will be willing to support Wegehe. Let them do so. If Accra people say they are going to, let them do so, and then let the limited resources go to Diwa Dubiasi and Achilensua and Sewas. I have a reason why I'm choosing these ones. One is near my village, one is also where my second hometown, and one is where Kandapa, who is a co-villager like me, went to. So I think, and also, these 3 years, but to say that you have everybody, now there's a discrimination. Those who are in boarding get some bad boarding, I must say, in most cases, where they live is not worth writing home about. But they get at least some boarding facilities for free. What about the day students who have to pay transport? So we must look at it whereby we say, at the end of the day, we want every child to have secondary school. education. But we don't need to have everyone in boarding school and everybody feed them and clothe, board the people and others. The second is this.
To you, what
No
should a
country,
typical review be like? What should be that typical review that we are looking for?
that's what I'm doing. That will end it up. But this is the review I'm doing indirectly. And finally, there's no country I know of in the world which is able to train his young people in boarding schools. This is a colonial legacy, which they needed only a few clerks, and therefore it was boarding. Today, if we want to have free education, we must have quality day schools, and I have proven that we can have day schools which can turn results equal or better than precept. I've done it in my village. But what I've done there is this. I didn't bring the children from the 12 villages to the one center and board them. No, I would rather have top class facilities, classrooms, computer, internet, everything. And then the teachers stay on the campus with accommodation for all of them. They have electricity, they have Wi-Fi and everything else. And within the 5 kilometers, the children come. They come 6. They leave their home 6 a.m. By 7:30, they are in school. We bath them. Some who are closer walk. And then they are in school till 2 o'clock. We give them good lunch. And then they have a break for 1 hour. We don't send them home. Because when they go home, half of them have no light in their house. So how are you going to study? So between 3 and 5, we have let them do all their homework on campus. And 5 o'clock, we release them. As a result, I can say to the glory of God, we have had 5 cohorts of WASI students. Only 3 people, hundreds of students, only 3 people didn't pass all their 6 subjects in the first instance. And of the 3, only it was 2 in maths and 1 in English.
That's fascinating.
And we have, at the moment, about 6 of them with MasterCard scholarships in Ashasi University. This is where, and the unit cost is therefore very less, and they are having quality education. So we have to rethink how to deliver the free education that will fit our pocket. That's all. But the free education I support.
Right, we can't have a perfect education, without the teachers. But currently, we know the situation we have at our hands, where we have this system called the Teachers' Licensure Examination. Most of them are complaining. In fact, you have some of the teachers rewriting this examination for more than 6 or 7 times. And some of them have been told that if you write the 8th or 9th time and you can't pass, then there's supposed to be some special classes or enough decks sort of for you to pass. Do you agree with this new, licensure examination that's supposed to give teachers certification?
First of all, the answer is yes. The reason why I support it is that when I was a teacher, a primary school teacher, every weekend you prepare your notes, your scheme of work, what subject you'll be teaching every hour, previous knowledge, what you are sharing with them, how you are going to revise them, and how you are going to test them. And then your head teacher rather, will have to tick it. And then, before Monday comes, and we had educational officers who will, at any time without notice, can appear. And when they come, they just take your notebook, go and sit behind you, and then see whether what you said you were teaching at that time is what you are doing. We have let that go. So I must say that is one of the reasons why we are having these poor results. The other is the quality of the teachers, which this licensure is trying to rectify. And I must say, even though for those of you are surprised that 7,000 took it and only about 1,200 or so passed. Actually, don't forget that Ghana Education Service has over 300 teachers, 300,000 teachers. Most of them have passed. So that is not, if you have 3,500 or so teachers and 7,000 are struggling, it's not a big number. In fact, I was expecting them to be higher. Number two, I think that there must be a way of ensuring the quality of the teachers, and therefore, again, I support that. I haven't looked at the examination, but my nephew took it. He just finished the university. He took it. That it's so cheap. It's so easy. What they are asking is actually less than a good secondary school pass.
Exactly.
And you can't say that you are a university graduate and you cannot pass what you are supposed to teach. For goodness sake, then there's something wrong. So the number is not that much. A lot of the teachers are good, they are passed. It's only those who, a few nuts, bad nuts, who are restating 4,000 out of over 300,000. It's not that hudious, as we will say it when we're in school.
Right, so the examination is supposed to test, it's in 3 sections. The first section is what they call the essential skills, where teachers are tested on, child psychology and other things. The next one is literacy, where you are tested essay writing, comprehension, spelling, and all of that. And there's the numeracy aspect. These 3 sections are supposed to test a very good teacher and then also be a system of assessment of these teachers. And so I am a bit, surprised if you say that the numbers, it doesn't look hudious in your own words.
In your own words, what I'm saying is this. When you look at 7,000, these are 7,000 mostly repeat, the worst kind. You have over 350,000 teachers. That's what I'm saying. Most of them have gone through successfully. So that is where I'm saying that you must put the 7,000 beside the 350,000 so that you don't give an impression that our teachers are all hopeless.
But if you look at the data, for instance, the literacy aspect, if you look at the average number of teachers who pass in a certain specific period under review, it's been declining. The average currently is around 22%. Previously was hovering around 30%, 29%. Is this still worrying?
No, I'm not saying that we are not worrying. I think that you should follow my logic. What I'm saying is that first and foremost, most of our teachers have already passed. And they have passed. Now, as you go on, you are leaving the worst behind.
And they are still writing.
Yes. And those who have attempted 8 times, my goodness, I mean, they have been patient enough with them because we don't have teachers, we cannot ask them to go home. So the point I'm trying to make is that I don't want to cast a slur. Don't let it be an indicator of all our teachers. Most of our teachers are good, except that they are not teaching. But then, these ones, I think it's still the proportion of the failure rate is very high, and that shows that there's something wrong along the way, either with their training or after their training, they just hang their boots and don't care a hoot, and which means that they are not teaching. Because if they were teaching the same things that they are being tested on, it couldn't happen. And that is where we must be concerned about.
Well, so yesterday we sampled some of the teachers and we picked their thoughts on this issue. And what they are requesting for, some of them are saying that if you really want to test us, you should test us in areas of expertise, or if you really want to test us, then develop a certain special curriculum for this, licensure examination. They say that there's nothing like, past questions or any system.
I mean, people will always have excuse. Listen, no teacher can say that he shouldn't be tested in English when it's the medium of instruction. Please, don't let them come and poo-poo us with their. You have to Let me tell you, for the joke of it, when my eldest son was in about class 3, but he had been born when I was doing my PhD in Australia, was literate at the age of 4, and the rest. And then he was in the class. And what the teacher just hated him. I could see that one. So I decided to go. You can't allow your child to be in a school the teacher hates the child. And when I started talking to the teacher, I went to the headmistress, whose name I will not mention because then you will know the school. It was a private school in Accra. It's portrayed. Every sentence is full of mistakes, and I'm sure my son was saying, "Oh no, madam, we don't say it this way." I was so I had to go and ask the headmistress, please, if you don't take my child from this class, I'm taking him out of the school because he will be dead. And unfortunately, they have that class 1, they had about 3, and there was a young man who very good. I sent my son there. So no teacher can say, you can't test me in basic English. You can't test me in education, which means not only classroom management, pedagogy, which is teaching, and the grade. If you cannot be tested on that. So the only thing that you can say, maybe not in somebody's field, in geography, and they say that they are going to test them, they are going to add a 4th subject anyway to their, if you are a geography teacher, they will test you in geography in addition and chemistry. So, and the mathematics they are talking about is not quantum physics.
Yeah.
It's basic literacy.
Basic
numeracy.
mathematics, yeah.
Numeracy. And you say that you are going to be in a classroom and you cannot add and divide and multiply, and you want to say that because you are a history teacher, please. No, they shouldn't go there. I mean, there are certain defense you don't put up at all. I wish I could get them and do what we used to do when Benjamin Bray, to cane those people who are putting up that argument. Cane them 12-12. Someone will say, twice.
Well, they are asking for something very simple. They want NTC, and the students are actually asking for the NTC to come to an equilibrium level where they have a standardized system where they know that this is their reference materials and all of this. They don't really care if you are testing them in essential skills, literacy, or even numeracy. They are just asking that NTC will come to an equilibrium. To you, what should that sort of equilibrium be like? Let me say
that I wish I had seen the examination because I'm what the NTC is saying and that. But basically, for a teacher to be told that somebody should give them a syllabus of basic numeracy, just writing basic essay, and you are a trained teacher, and we are asking you about, basic psychology, classroom management, and the rest, and you say that somebody should give you some material, you are indicting yourself. You are saying that actually you are not qualified to be in the classroom. If they are testing you about, artificial intelligence and other things, yes, but that's not what we are talking about. In fact, a couple of people, including my nephew, say that this is too easy. You think that is an insult on them for those, even some of them. So in this case, I don't think that we should put the blame on NTC.
Now, Prof, if you look at the background of the teachers who actually could not pass through the pass route, look at them. Most of them are actually located in the rural areas. Is there this significant factor affecting all of them?
My friend, we are not talking about being tested on current affairs, and you didn't listen to Stephen Adai's interview on Joy FM. We are talking about basic numeracy, basic literacy, and you don't need to be in Accra. There's a teacher here, I was a teacher, let me say it in English. I was going to say it in Cree because some of us are also slightly challenged in English. He was teaching the spelling, quality. He says Kwality, quality. The children were saying, an education officer passed by and said, no. Quality is spelled Quality.
In fact, some of the teachers were actually spelling the word middle, 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 and headache, headic.
And then when the education officer went, he went to the children and said, "Oh, please, children, I've discovered something." He said, "What?" He said, They have just told me that they have changed the spelling of quality in Accra, and I've just been told. So from today, it's Quality.
Interesting.
And the fact is that the man needed to be beaten. You don't need education officer. That they hadn't changed spelling. Spelling of quality has always been Q. So I think that we have those people must sit up because what they are asking them to do is not quantum physics, which of course Stephen Ade will have difficulty. But even I won't have too much difficulty because I have a computer. The other day I decided to learn thermodynamics. I've never learned physics before and I understood it. But those in the village, then you can say that they don't have internet connectivity to study thermodynamics, which I'm doing now at 75. But adding, subtracting, writing an essay, whether you are in Dokrotua or Penchinbra or say Utibio, you should be able to do it.
Well, so if you had the opportunity, what will you change or add to this, system or licensure examination?
Well, I am not in a position to make a recommendation. What I know is that what they are doing is not good or that big, so they should be able to do it. They say what the teachers are requesting for should not be a substitute, but additional. In addition to this, because every teacher must be on top of this. You can be tested in chemistry, biology, physics, or higher mathematics if you are teaching mathematics. And that, if they are requesting that, it will be added, not subtracted. So it should be additional. The only thing I also say is that somehow we are short of teachers, and we cannot drive these people away who are going to replace them. Therefore, you could ask their heads to organize, to help them. The help should be at the local level, not at the national NTC level. And I will give you an example of how such things can be remedied. Normally, when the people who come to our school in my village, secondary school, from the local junior secondary schools, most of them come actually illiterate. And we spend 1 year, we call it those who we feel cannot do 3 years secondary school. We have 1 year access. And we start teaching them from class 1. Mathematics, English, everyone, it may take 1 week, then we go to class 2. So we take them through the gamut from class 1 to JHS in 1 year. And some of them are now coming up with top A's when they go to the senior secondary school. And some go to tech. We have, the other day they counted from my village and the 12 villages around it, about more than 20 people in tech, about the same number in Cape Coast. They like Cape Coast and tech because my village is sandwiched between Marcy and Cape Coast. A few in Legon, and a very significant number in Ashasi University, thanks to MasterCard scholarships, which see more grower people who cannot afford 1,000 cedis to look after their children, being helped go to Ashasi University, which is, of course, my university.
Now, definitely, there's one thing that is actually affecting every sector of this economy. I know this is outside the domain or range of this conversation, but I definitely have to ask you because you are an economist. I was glad when you spoke about haircuts. You said in this era of haircuts, we are trying to restructure both domestic and external debt. And at this moment, we say it's a bingo at the domestic level, but external, we've not really been able to, find our way out. Let me ask, I'm sure you probably invested or something. Did you get a haircut or something?
Yeah, but thank God I have a white hair so that you still see some to have all been gone. I had invested heavily of course, that was the only choice we had in Ghana. There were three: it's treasury bills, government bonds, and mutual funds. So these were the three. My retirement, Kakrawa, have spread it in there. About 1/3 in bonds have all had their haircut 15%. The average was 35%. I felt that as a patriot, I should contribute my widow's mite, so therefore I signed. So everything is now 15%, and we are crossing our heart that the 15% will come regularly.
Now,
So,
those who did not sign on to the domestic debt exchange program, they've actually been battling with getting their coupons and even principal payments. How sure are you that, at the end of probably 2027 or come 2024, you get your coupons as promised?
I think that if we all, and this is it, we all contribute. And that is why I believe that even the pension funds should have participated in a structured way, because some are going to retire early, they must get their money. Some have about 30 years. I don't think that there will be any problem in paying them when they get there if we are able to go through this patch. So everybody must contribute their quota. Governments go through difficulties, but unlike me and you, who can be declared bankrupt, they bounce back if they are able to put in the right measures. You are younger. I was born in 1948, so therefore I've gone through every phase of Ghana, including marching on our Independence Day. I was 9 years old, and I saw everything else. We have gone through 1983. Charlie, if you were there and you have seen, if you have watched, you've seen your mother with corner bones, just rolling chains. And that was the time they confiscated everybody with 50 Ghana cedis. There were notes which had just been issued. If you had 250 Ghana cedis in your account, current account, you had to go and answer it. For why you have 250 and the rest. We have gone through a lot, but thank God you have been able to come out. I'm expecting that the conditions, if we meet the conditions of the IMF, some of them will be really bitter. We will get the external partners to also stretch their credit to us and allow us to pay it over a longer rate, maybe forgive us part of it and lower the interest rate. I expect that by next year, latest by the end of next year, we have gone through the worst. And with taxes, collection improving, we will come there. I have no doubt at all that within 3 years, all the promises can be delivered.
Well, you are a pensioner, and simply you said that you've bought bonds as an individual or a natural person. And so you've already taken a haircut.
I'm also suffering from the mutual fund. Now, if you want to get your mutual fund, you go there, they say give us 3 months or 5 months notice. So it's a double whack.
Exactly.
It's not only the bonds.
So you have taken a double haircut, right?
Double haircut.
Well, so will you say that the independent power producers should also sit down at the negotiation table and talk to governments and get their funds also restructured?
The question is that if they don't, this one was a champion. A champion was a kafo didi. The debtor also, kafo didi. Who pay? The debtor also must eat. The question is this: at a certain point, everybody must give and take. You can't say that at this moment the government will go and take 2 billion and go and pay you, and then the children should stay at home. So, of course, as investors, they must be considered. They must get some returns. But this idea of you are going to, whether you take the power or not, we are going to pay when there's no money to pay. I think that they must sit down with the government and come with a compromise, because pensioners should not get a haircut, you should not get a haircut, and they should just grow Afro.
So generally,
Like,
you're talking about burden sharing. Burden
yes,
sharing,
yes,
individuals have done their part, but if you
yes,
look at
and the
government's
corporation,
position in terms of the burden sharing approach,
yes,
government only
yes,
seem to be tackling, taxes, not really cutting down on expenditure. There have been calls that cut down on the size of government and all of that, and government is not really doing that. So if you are talking about burden sharing, it should first start from government. Between 2013 and 2021, government was able to borrow 13 billion from the Eurobond market. So if you tell me the ordinary Ghanaian to take double haircut and all of that, don't you think that a government is really being unfair to the ordinary Ghanaian?
first of all, I think that I've made a statement several times. The government managing the country is primarily responsible for where we are. Excessive borrowing, yes, whether you even had a good intention of using it, you can't borrow above your means. There were also external factors that exacerbated the situation. But let me be very clear on this, and I've stated it and I would like to state it again. The size of the government is too big.
Mm-hmm.
At least as a token, they should do something about it. But let me tell you, the savings will be not big enough to make a difference, but it will send a psychological message that we are in it together. You cannot, I've seen some GN brand new V8s. This is not the time we should be whisking about with V8. And yet we are going about, and now government money is being used for campaigns and the rest. We must be very careful. So for me, it is a question of, in leadership, sometimes it's not so much the amount involved, but the type of message that you send.
Right.
And that at this moment, the message is not positive, that we are in crisis.
Right.
The only person I see showing some modesty is the Minister for Finance, who uses only Ghana-made cars.
Right, Prof. Thank you very much sorry to cut you. Thank you very much for making time on Upfront, joining us on Upfront. We've had a very fruitful discussion with you. I'm so grateful that you were able to join us. I'm really, really grateful. This is where time will allow us to peg our conversation on Upfront. Joy News Prime is up next. My name is Isaac Kofi Agyei.